Nobody wakes up one day and decides to become someone nobody respects. It happens quietly, slowly, one compromise at a time. And the scariest part, most men don't even know it's happening to them. Today, we are going to change that. The setup. Here is something I want you to understand before we go any further. The man that nobody respects, he didn't choose that. He didn't sit down one evening and decide to become someone people overlook, dismiss, or quietly stop taking seriously. He drifted there through comfort, through avoiding hard conversations, through choosing the easier path every time it showed up, because the easier path is always right there and it always feels reasonable in the moment. And the problem with drifting is that it's invisible. You don't feel it happening. Life just keeps moving. And somewhere along the way, the man you were becoming quietly became someone you never intended to be. Now, I need you to hear me on this. I am not here to tear you down. I am not here to make you feel small. That is not what this channel is about. And it is not what this playlist is about. I am here because I know something and I need you to know it too. You cannot fix what you refuse to see. So today we are going to look together at the signs, the quiet ones, the ones most men walk past every single day without realizing what they mean. And I will tell you this, the fact that you pressed play on this video already tells me something about who you are becoming. You have stopped doing hard things. Think about the last genuinely hard thing that you did. Not difficult in the sense of busy, hard in the sense of uncomfortable. Something that required you to push through resistance. Something that made you want to stop before you finished. When was that? Because here is what most men don't understand. Doing hard things is not just about the result. It's about what it does to the inside of you. Every time you push through something difficult, you are sending yourself a message. The message is, I can be trusted. And every time you avoid it, every time you skip the gym, put off the hard conversation, leave the project unstarted, you send yourself a different message. One that compounds quietly. One that slowly convinces you that you are the kind of man who quits. Other people can feel this about you even when they cannot name it. There is something about a man who has gone soft that is visible. Not in one thing, but in everything. In how he carries himself. In how he responds to pressure. In how much people trust him with real things. Hard things are not punishment. They are the price of self-respect. And that guy pays it every single day. You complain more than you act. I want you to think about your last 10 conversations. How many of them involved you complaining about something? Your job, your situation, other people, the government, the economy, anything, without following it with a single action? Here is the hard truth about complaining. Every complaint is a confession. It is a confession that says, I see the problem, I understand the problem, and I have chosen not to do anything about it. That is not the posture of a man people respect. That is the posture of a man people slowly stop inviting into serious conversations, because serious conversations require people who are going to bring solutions, not add to the weight. There's a difference between processing something honestly and becoming a man who is defined by what is wrong in his life. One is human, the other is a trap. That guy is not a man without problems. He has problems, real ones. He just refuses to give them more airtime than his actions. You seek validation constantly. This one is quiet, but it is everywhere once you know what to look for. It is the man who posts something and then checks his phone every 5 minutes to see how people responded. It is the man who changes his opinion the moment someone pushes back. Not because they made a better argument, but because the friction was uncomfortable. It is the man who cannot make a decision without first finding out what everyone else thinks. Here is what validation seeking signals to people around you. It signals that your compass is outside of you, that you do not fully trust your own judgment, that you need the world to confirm you before you can move. And people, whether they realize it or not, do not fully respect a man whose sense of self depends on their opinion. because that man is unpredictable. His confidence rises and falls with the room. His decisions bend with whoever he is speaking to last. That guy has an internal compass. He listens, he considers, but ultimately he decides, and he lives with that decision. That self-trust is magnetic and it cannot be faked. You have no standards for your time. I want you to account for the last 48 hours, not in a way that makes you feel guilty, just honestly. Where did the time go? How much of it was intentional? How much of it just happened? Because here is something I believe with everything in me. How a man spends his time is who he is, not who he says he is, not who he plans to be. Who he actually is right now is written in how he uses his hours. A man with no standards for his time is a man adrift. He is available for everything and intentional about nothing. He says yes because he hasn't decided what deserves a no. And he arrives at the end of every week wondering where it went, with nothing built and nothing moved forward. People sense this directionlessness even when they cannot name it. They stop bringing their best opportunities to a man who doesn't seem to be going anywhere in particular. That guy treats his time the way a builder treats materials. Nothing is wasted. Everything has a purpose. And the structure he is building, you can see it rising. You let people treat you however they want. This is the one that most men mistake for kindness. It is not kindness, it is the absence of a standard. The friend who cancels on you every time and you say nothing. The person who speaks over you in conversations and you laugh it off. The colleague who takes credit for your work and you stay quiet to keep the peace. The person who is constantly late to meet you and you keep showing up anyway. Every time you accept behavior that falls below your standard and say nothing, you are training that person. You are teaching them exactly how to treat you, and they are learning. Boundaries are not aggression. They are not walls. They are not about being difficult or confrontational. Boundaries are simply self-respect made visible. They are a quiet, firm signal to the world that says, I have a standard and I hold it. The man who holds his standard calmly, without anger, without drama, is one of the most respected men in any room because everyone can feel it and very few people test it twice. You are the same man you were a year ago. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Think about who you were 12 months ago. Your body, your mind, your finances, your skills, your relationships, your discipline, your vision for your life. Now, look at who you are today. Is there a meaningful difference? Because here is something that nobody tells you. There is no standing still. A man is either building or breaking down, growing or decaying, moving forward or sliding backward, even if it feels like nothing is happening. Stagnation is not neutral. It is a slow loss of sharpness, of momentum, of the belief that you are capable of more. And the longer it goes on, the heavier the weight of starting becomes. That guy does not measure himself against other men. He measures himself against the man he was last month, last year, and he is relentless. Not in a punishing way, but in a way of a man who genuinely cannot accept wasting the potential he knows he has. That is the standard, and it is available to you right now. But here is what I want you to understand. Every single one of these signs, every one of them is reversible starting today. The 10. I want to say something to you directly. Most men will never watch a video like this, not because it doesn't exist, but because they are not ready to look. It is easier to stay comfortable than to hold a mirror up to yourself and be honest about what you see. You just did that. You sat through 6 signs, and I know at least one of them hits you somewhere real, maybe more than one. And instead of tapping off, you stayed. That is not weakness. That is the beginning of that guy. So here is your one thing, not a list, not a plan, just one thing. Take the sign that hits you the hardest, the one that made something tighten in your chest. and make one decision about it today, not tomorrow, today. Not a resolution, not a goal, a decision. Decide that science stops here. That decision, as small as it sounds, is not small. That decision is the first brick, and that guy is built one brick at a time. Close and bridge. You just did something that most men spend their whole lives avoiding. You looked, and now you cannot unsee it. That discomfort you feel right now, that tightness, that honesty, that is not a bad sign. That is your standards rising. That is the beginning of the elevation. The first video showed you how the world sees you. This video showed you what you have been doing to yourself, and now it is time to see who you are becoming. The next video is the one I have been building to since the beginning of this playlist. The full picture, the complete man, that guy, broken down completely so you know exactly what you are building towards. Watch it now, you have earned it. We are not done. Keep elevating. Remember the goal, highest elevation of the self. If this one hits, send it to a man who needs to see himself clearly.